Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Geek-Stew, and today, guys, welcome back to another episode of Conspiracy Theories with Mike. That's right. Two things real quick. First and foremost, sorry that my hair is a little messed up. Was not wanting to work with me this morning, but that's okay. Also, it's really bright outside. Normally when I do these videos, I'm either recording like really early in the morning or like later at night, and today I just happened to be recording, I guess like not early in the morning, but like it's like what, 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, it's super bright outside, so apologies for that. But shouldn't be an issue. Do apologize for the crazy hair, but it is what it is. So today, guys, we are back with some more conspiracy theory content. In fact, today is going to be a little bit. It's still conspiracy theories, but it's not like a new conspiracy theory. So last week we revisited God's ego death, and sort of on the same thought process. Somebody recently asked me, hey Ike, what were your favorite conspiracy theories? And so specifically this person asked, let me give credit, this person asked me, hey, I wonder what Ike's favorite conspiracy theories or something like that. And hey, that's a fair question. I cover a lot of conspiracy theories. And I've been doing this for about a year, for conspiracy theories overall. So, it's definitely been a fun thing. But fun fact, I've enjoyed doing all of these conspiracies. I usually avoid theories that bore me or don't make any sense whatsoever. Like, if I can personally kind of make sense out of it, I'll do it, right? But typically, none of these theories that I do are going to be theories that I dislike. With that in mind, I wanted to answer this person's question with a thought-out response, and I wanted to make a video out of it. So I decided that I'm going to give you my top 3 favorite theories that I have covered so far, just to kind of give you an idea of what are Ike's favorite theories. What does he like to cover? So let's get into it. Let's look at our top 3 favorite theories that I've covered so far on the Geek-Stew channel. Starting us off at number 3 is the prenatal quantum nightmare. So if you haven't checked it out, it looks like that. The prenatal quantum nightmare, honestly, this one is one of those ones that was kind of a head scratcher because it makes you think. But this is one of my all-time favorite theories, generally speaking. It's an interesting thought process on the concept of infinite timelines, infinite, this, that, and the other. But it also kind of talks a little bit about our consciousness, right? Is our consciousness limited to our current existence, or can it exist across basically infinity, right? And so if you haven't seen the video, sort of just a short synopsis, basically if we have not been born yet, or our consciousness in another timelines haven't been born yet, or potentially even just in our current timeline, let's say we haven't been born yet, right, before the year you're born, do they already know that they exist? If they do know that they exist, there are some pretty terrifying, I would say some pretty terrifying assumptions that you have to make, that if you're aware that you don't exist yet, it can be a little scary, right? You're just kind of floating out there in nowhere, what the fuck's happening here? But yeah, it's a good theory. If you haven't checked it out, I will, of course, link it in the description below, because why not, right? But this one was really fun to talk about, and it had some really great interactions with the video. I know a lot of viewers and subscribers were leaving comments and talking about it, and honestly, I love that. That's my favorite shit to do. So definitely made for a fun conversation, and when I brought this up to people in IRL, I'm like, hey, have you ever heard of this? And they're like, what the fuck? What? What the fuck? I mean, same, but yeah, that's exactly what I was going for with that. But yeah, prenatal quantum nightmare would be my number 3 of all the conspiracy theories that I have covered so far. Number 2 would be the despair code. So the despair code is another favorite. It did take a lot out of me to research and film the video because the content matter is a little depressing, but it was interesting nonetheless. Honestly, this is probably one of the more interesting theories that I've ever had to cover. So for people who don't know, this is what the video looks like. But of course, if you've not watched it, obviously check it out. But quick TLDR, there is supposedly a sequence of thought processes and ideologies that lead to depression and possible suicide. Now, I will give a slight trigger warning for people who may want to watch this, right? If you are not in the right mindset or headspace, it could be detrimental to you. I don't know. But it is an interesting watch for sure. It is something that does, I would say, it offers a very unique insight into basically how does things like there's a bunch of different like ideologies. I can't even remember the main one, but anyhow, basically, if you believe in these things, right, it's kind of like a domino, right? You kind of start with maybe depression or, whatever the case may be. Maybe you move into nihilism. That was what it was. Nihilism basically is just a thought that nothing matters. That's kind of a really like diluted response. Obviously, there's more to nihilism than nothing matters. But then you kind of like jump down a couple steps, right? You start with this, start with that, keep going, boom, 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 boom. Eventually, you get to the point where supposedly the despair code is that you get to a point where nothing matters, right? Life is meaningless across the board. Now, with that in mind, check it out if you want to. But this was a hard one for me to actually do because it did take a lot of research into like some of the really depressing topics. And then, of course, when you have to record it and talk about these things. But I do like how it turned out, and I do look back on it as sort of like a labor of love for those who do love conspiracies. So I really like doing it. And with the emergence of the new program I'm doing, right, the Conspiracies Revisited, I might want to go back and revisit the despair code. Honestly, I might want to go back and revisit all the conspiracies on the bottom tier of that iceberg, which are like the Final Understanding, despair code, God's Last Wish, and God's Ego Death. I already did Ego Death, so they're the other three that I might go back and cover, but it is what it is. That being said, I want to move on to the next one, to my number one favorite that I've covered, but also just generally my favorite conspiracy theory right now. So my number one favorite is, of course, God's Last Wish. So this is one of my more popular videos on the channel with 6.5 thousand views. Not my most popular, but since God's Ego Death almost has 20,000 views, God's Last Wish is still a good theory. But to me, I felt like I had a great turnout. That's one of those ones that I do want to eventually revisit, maybe here in a month or two, do some additional research, because I have done some, I have read up on it a little bit, so I do think that there's more that I could cover with the concept of God's Last Wish, so that is something that I eventually want to get to. But basically, if you, again, haven't seen it, this is what it is. God's Last Wish, in a nutshell, is talking about the different thought processes of how we came to be, right? A lot of people think, I even recently talked about Soul Bank and the concept of pre-existence. There's a lot of theories about how we came to be, right? Did we exist before our current physical bodies, or were we created by God during his, during the 7 days, right, that he created Earth and all life? With that being said, there is the theory that, of course, we were God's last wish, right? You and I were created in God's final moments, right? In his dying moments, he used the last of his soul, the last of his energy to create humans, and a little bit of his energy exists among us. The thought that we were God's last wish and his wish for us to continue and thrive. Now, of course, there is the darker side of that, right? The alternative is that he wanted to die, right? And for him to finally die, we must also die, right? He puts himself into us, a mortal being, and then boom, we die and everything else. Now, it's a bit depressing as well, since this theory does require the God of the Bible be dead, but it's still cool to look into, and it was one of the first iceberg theories I covered, and will always hold a somewhat special place in my heart. With that being said, I do want to go back and revisit this because I have read more about it. Kind of like I did with God's Ego Death, and I'll be honest, I don't know how God's Ego Death panned out. I don't know how everyone liked it quite yet, just because I filmed this video, that video, and then the next video all in quick succession. But God's Last Wish will probably forever be one of my favorite theories of all time, just because it has a very interesting backbone, not necessarily a solid backbone, but it has an interesting one, right? But with that being said, I won't keep you guys here any longer talking about God's Last Wish, but I would recommend you check it out if you haven't yet already done that. But moving on to final thoughts. So I've been doing conspiracy theories for a little over a year now. My first theory, of course, was back in January 18th, 2021, and it was the disappearance of Johnny Gosch. I can't remember. But yeah, if you've not watched that one, obviously check it out. That was my first venture, however, into like the genre of like conspiracy theories, and it definitely led me down sort of like a rabbit hole. And I started looking at other theories. I think I did like the Avril Lavigne theory. I think I did the, oh gosh, I can't remember. There was another one I did, and then I did another one that was not conspiracy related, but it was like a disturbing iceberg that I kind of started to cover. But then I eventually got onto the conspiracy theory iceberg that I've been covering now for a year. Yeah, honestly, it's been really interesting. It's been a very interesting path. From where I started to where I've been now. I'm at the point now where I'm going back and retracing my steps and recovering theories, and it's very interesting to see that kind of come full circle. A lot of people have complimented me on like the evolution of the videos, so I do appreciate that, and hopefully we'll be able to see even better, more professional videos in the future. Eventually my background will be more professional. Like I mentioned a few times in past videos, I'm currently moving.
Of course you remember Zeke, Rufus, Jeep, Billy Bob, Billy Jim, Billy, Billy, Banana Fanta, Philly, Tug, Enos, Ted, Julio, Fletcher McGee, Rainchild, Zeke Jr.
I get it!
So that's actually coming up in here about a week and a half or 2 weeks actually. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now, what we're doing, what we're working with, and yeah, honestly, I'm just kind of living the dream here, but eventually would like to see this get even bigger and go even further. But with all that in mind, I love all the theories that I've covered. Every single theory that I've covered have been somewhat interesting to me, so I want to let you make sure you know I don't cover theories that I don't like, because in my thought process is that if I can't like the theory, then how are my wonderful viewers and subscribers supposed to like the theories too? So it's been an interesting adventure out here, but we're going to leave it there. Sorry this video is a little bit shorter. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little something to chew on, to kind of look about, what my favorite theories are. But all right, if you haven't already, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe. Share us, follow us on social media, all that good jazz. I promise you will not be sorry that you did that, because I put out content every Friday. Sometimes I have to take a break here and there, but I'm pretty consistent. I'm pretty solid on my schedule every Friday. Salsa Shark, who does the Control Over C podcast, he will eventually be making a return to the channel, but he got a little busy with school and some stuff like that, so we're just trying to kind of find a time for him and I to sit down and start recording again. But yeah. But all right, guys, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay awesome. We will see you in the next one. See ya.